Earlier this month, President Joe Biden raised the cap on the number of refugees the U.S. accepts into the country after former President Trump lowered the level for years. It's welcome news for the organizations who bring those people in, but as Mitch Legan reports, they'll have to rebuild a network hit hard by years of cutbacks.
Cole Varga is hoping videos like this one start dominating his social media again. In recent years, they've become a lot less frequent.
I think refugee resettlement is one of the best things we do as a country. So not just reuniting families, but just giving people a new home and a new chance at life.
Exodus Refugee Resettlement is Indiana's largest refugee resettlement program. Varga oversees a pipeline that gives thousands of people across the globe a shot at freedom in the United States. But under the Trump administration, that pipeline had been reduced to a trickle.
The United States will not be a migrant camp, and it will not be a refugee holding facility. Won't be.
In 2016, the last year before President Trump took office, the U.S. admitted about 85,000 refugees. Last year, he set the cap at a record low of 15,000, and actual numbers didn't come close.
This was a very large and in many respects unprecedented policy-based decision to say we want to allow far fewer refugees to come into the United States.
Record lows for the federal government meant record lows at Exodus. Their annual resettlements plummeted from an average of about 900 to 175 last year. And this year isn't looking much better.
During the Trump administration, we've resettled about as many people as perhaps 1 year during the Obama administration.
With the federal government limiting the supply of refugees, over 1/3 of resettlement agencies were forced to close. Many, including Exodus, have budgets tied to the number of people they help. Varga says there was a point he was concerned Exodus might have to shut down. They were able to make it work, but not without cutting 15 positions on staff.
You know, the institutional knowledge, the expertise, the language capacity that you lose when you have to drop 1/3 of your staff overnight is hard to recover from.
Just over 20 refugees have been resettled in the state since October. Two of them are Jean Sengyunva's wife, Nicole Nina, and daughter, Tracy.
It was like heaven coming. I don't know how. I mean, it was so beautiful. It was good.
Jean arrived in the U.S. in 2016, right before the cuts. Because of the lengthy approval process and curtailed limits, his wife and daughter didn't get to the country until last month.
My heart was always beating, like, you know. I never saw her. I just saw her like 3 weeks ago now. So she didn't know she had a daddy. She just knew that my daddy is in the phone. And then me not seeing my wife for 4 years, it was, it's crazy. It's crazy.
After years of waiting, the family's spending a whole lot of time together. They say President Biden's raised limit creates opportunities for others to do the same. Biden would like to welcome 62,000 refugees by the end of the fiscal year. But given the damage done to the refugee program's infrastructure, hitting that number is likely impossible.
I think the resettlement agencies will emphasize that they welcome the challenge, but there is a lot of rebuilding that needs to be done.
At Exodus, that starts with building funds back up and rehiring and training positions that were previously cut. That includes English teachers, case managers.
The laws, the norms, all that stuff, to be ready for employment, to be ready to get your kids to school, to be ready to shop at a supermarket for the first time, right? So there's a lot of things built into the curriculum.
But the larger refugee network must also be rebuilt. Varga's reaching back out to apartment complexes and employers, but says work must be done on the federal end too, to reach the levels of previous eras.
I'd say due to the damage to the infrastructure of this program, both overseas and the networks here, it's probably more like 21,000 this year because we're already so far along in the year.
They'll have no shortage of people who need help. Some 35,000 refugees have been cleared to settle in the U.S., and 100,000 remain in the pipeline. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Mitch Legan.